My name is George Kiladis, and I'm a research meteorologist at the Physical Sciences Laboratory, NOAA, in Boulder, Colorado.
What are atmospheric rivers?
So what is an atmospheric river, and why are they so important? Well, as we all know, the planet Earth has plenty of water, except in the dry desert regions. In fact, more than two-thirds of the planet is covered by oceans. Only one-third is land. And when you're on the land and it's raining, where do you think the water is coming from? Well, it's actually coming from the ocean. The atmosphere picks up water vapor over the ocean and the wind transports it to the land, where it falls as rain, or as snow in the winter if it's cold enough. Now, what happens to the water that falls as rain? Well, it has to get back to the ocean. Otherwise, the oceans would eventually dry up. So the rain that falls on the land ends up getting concentrated into rivers. These rivers all flow downhill from the mountains and the hills and come together, and eventually all this water flows back into the sea. Even though rain falls over wide areas of the land, it ends up getting concentrated into narrow streams, creeks, or rivers to get back to the sea. What I just described is the Earth's water cycle, which is sometimes called the hydrologic cycle. So the atmosphere has to move water from the oceans to the land. And it turns out that, just like on land, a lot of the water in the atmosphere is also concentrated into narrow areas surrounded by much drier areas. Because they're so narrow, these are called atmospheric rivers because they transport water from place to place just like rivers on land do. In fact, most of the water transported by the atmosphere from the tropics into North America happens in atmospheric rivers, even all the way up to the coldest Arctic regions. Because the water is so concentrated, when an atmospheric river flows from the ocean into a continent, it can cause a really large rainstorm. So if you're in California and an atmospheric river comes onshore from an area around Hawaii, these are sometimes called the Pineapple Express. Since they're so warm and moist, they actually feel tropical. This happens a lot in places along the west coast of the United States, where atmospheric rivers frequently come off the Pacific Ocean, and also in the southern part of the U.S., where they come from the Gulf of Mexico. So atmospheric rivers are a really important part of the Earth's hydrologic cycle and do most of the work in transporting water from place to place above the surface of the Earth.